Would you rather have a pour over at a cafe, $12? It's a really nice geisha. Um, but you're not sure how the final cup is going to be. You've had some good cups, some not so good cups. So $12 geisha on the menu, pour over menu, or a $5 solid batch brew coffee from anywhere in Central America.
Ah, talking like wash process,
Washed,
like traditional, approachable.
traditional. You had it the day before.
I mean, personally, I am already like a washed coffee forward person to begin with.
Okay.
So I'm feeling like I'm cheap.
Okay. Okay.
And I love consistency because I think like the disappointment that's put possible of like I paid more for something that maybe wasn't as good. Like I love statistics. If you give me a mean and give me an average, I love that. So I'm gonna go with the $5.
Okay.
South Central wash.
Okay, but now hear me out. What if all that's on batch is a blend?
Ooh.
And it's the same blend.
Single origin.
Done forever.
Single origin pour over.
Single origin pour over, but we're talking 12. But let's say $10.
Yeah.
$10.
Good.
Or
like this is.
It's gonna be Colombia, Africa.
Yeah.
Panama maybe.
Yeah.
Something that's fun.
Yeah.
Or a blend that's like a little bit darker than you typically drink, and you don't know exactly the regions that the blend is. It's the house blend.
I mean, this is telling of how I feel about pour overs, dude. I'm gonna go blend. I think I am personally anti pour over. I'm not aggressively, like I'm not trying to like take pour over down I do a pour over right now. But if I'm being honest, these questions bring up, I'm like, dude, I actually don't think I would order a pour over.
Okay.
But can I defend myself for a second?
Yes, you have to give context. Yeah.
Yesterday, I was in a lovely cafe in Vancouver. We were up visiting.
Yesterday?
And, yeah.
Sick invite.
Sorry, dude. Actually, next time.
Yeah.
But we were up, and there was the multi-roaster. I don't even know if you heard of them. I'll have to look up their name. Doesn't matter.
The roaster or the cafe?
Cafe.
Oide?
No. Oide is awesome.
Nomad?
No. Mad. But okay.
There's a lot of great cafes.
I was in this cafe.
Okay, yeah.
And they served pour over, they served espresso.
Okay.
But they had like internationally great roasters.
Sure.
And they had like $7 espresso.
Yeah.
I ordered that no problem.
Yeah. No, that's a great price.
I'm not cheap in the sense of like, oh, if it's more than $5, I won't pay for it.
Sure.
I just don't like pour over, apparently. Like I ordered as an heirloom varietal Ethiopia.
Yeah,
lovely.
Sounds great.
The extraction was perfect. They pulled it perfect.
Okay.
It was $7 to me, plus I tipped. Yeah. Literally would not have thought about it again until this conversation.
Yeah.
But in the scenario of like $10 pour over or a $5 batch, I'm going $5 batch literally every time.
Okay.
Apparently.
That's crazy. That's huge. And then obviously, if the same fun single origins on pour over or espresso, $10 espresso, $10 pour over, same price, same coffee.
I'm stuck. This is hard. This is like I would probably go off of what the coffee is.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, because there was one espresso I had that was an auction in Panama, and it tasted like pineapple juice. And I'm like, dude, I'm sure it would have been good on pour over, but on espresso, it was probably my favorite espresso I've ever had.
Interesting.
So like, I don't regret paying. I think it was about $10.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Literally, like, never would change that. So I'm like weirdly probably still espresso for some strange reason, but like it's gotta be good because if you're gonna give me an undialed espresso shot, so I only get this little bit, and it was bad.
Okay.
I'm raising my pitchfork.
Okay, so with that question though, in your head, when you think of like what else you could have done with that $10, what is the category your brain goes to?
Burger.
Like,
Literally, I'm like
immediately.
All right, I can either get Panama Geisha auction lot,
or everyone has their $10. Like, what is
or I could go to my favorite spot and get a smash burger.
Yeah, but that puts it into perspective.
It does.
Like, I feel like
it does.
The things you spend $10 on, you have to compare the quality of entertainment,
Yeah.
consumption, all of that, and then decide like what
Yep.
is. Yeah, that's interesting. Mine is just childhood growing up. It was as soon as I felt like everything was too expensive to live anymore was when movies started costing $10.
Oh.
And that hit me, when it was like I grew up in the age of dollar theaters. And so once I went to the movies and it was like, yo, this is $10, it was like, oh, life is life's expensive
Never
now.
going back.
So for me, it's always like a 2-hour movie, So I'm comparing like
whoa,
a shot of espresso versus 2 hours of entertainment.
fun. That's a good.
So
yeah, the value of the value of the American dollar.
yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. But yeah, so with pour over, what do you think is the single most important part of making a really good pour over? If you had to choose one thing, is like you told people this is the most important part of making a pour over, what is it?
I think that the psychology of the garnish is everything. We're like the coffee is. We're assuming like baseline everything's actually good.
Sure. Yeah.
But like I'd rather I love the feeling of it served on a platter with info about the coffee, served in an aesthetic ceramic or in a beautiful glass craft. Like if I'm gonna pay, to your point about like the movie theater comparison, if I'm gonna pay $10, like there is of course an entertainment feature, and I think the same thing for like a mixed drink, like all of the right ingredients, but if it's not garnished and not aesthetic, like not that you feel like you're getting ripped off, but like I think we pay for experiences more than we do for commodified transaction.
Okay.
So I would say my biggest advice is assuming, or like my biggest like staple is assuming the coffee's good, it's gonna be done well enough. Like there's nothing more important than like a well aesthetic, like a good aesthetic presentation, garnishing.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I'm gonna like
you want it to feel.
I want it to feel elevated. Yeah, even if it's not as elevated, like elevate it for me.
Okay, so with that, are you more of a, like if you like a coffee, you think it's really good, are you more of someone that's going to tell someone before they have it, like, this coffee's so good, and then brew it for them and give it to them? Or are you more of a like hesitant, like not going to say anything about it, brew it? Or are you like talk it down and then let it be, everyone, I feel like everyone fits in one of those categories where they're either overly like, you got to have this coffee, it's so good. And then it doesn't really leave much room for the consumer to come back and be like, hey, that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But people also say that you taste what you're expecting with coffee, with wine, with lots of things. So if you say like, man, this coffee is so peachy, so much stone fruit, you give it to them, they come back, they're like, oh, it's so much stone fruit, it's so peachy. And if you don't give them that, do they not taste, so where do you
I actually feel like this is an accidental strong suit.
Okay.
I love a soft smile. If I come to you and be like, and someone like, oh, like a pour over, okay, for sure. I think you're gonna like this one.
Yeah, just like, got it.
It's cool where it's like, okay, if they didn't like it, it's not like
they can still,
an affront to me that they can
still
be like,
this wasn't my thing.
Like, or me being like, I really enjoy this one.
Yeah, this one's got it.
So it's like this beautiful through line of like,
gives them room.
Trust me, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Also, if you don't, all good. I'm not trying to act like I have the keys to the gate and all that, but like, I don't want to do the downplay of like, dude, this is a fantastic coffee. Like, don't miss it. Because the same thing of like, you want to prime someone to be ready to experience something good. How many times in our life are you driving down the freeway and you could be seeing all the birds, all the trees, all that you could be catching so many beautiful things, but you're primed to just focus on something else. So you want to like, I want to prime them, but I don't want to like
over commit. Decide for them.
Yeah.
That makes
what
sense.
are you? How do you position?
I want to be more someone that's confident to tell someone like when I think something's really good. But I have this hesitancy where I'm just like, what if I only think it's really good? What if this sucks? What if, because the other question is kind of like a cocktail bar. Should the barista taste every pour over before sending it out?
What do you think?
I think yes. I think a barista should taste every pour before sending it out.
Yep.
Because my hesitancy to talk highly about the coffee is, what if it's brewed bad? And then my opinion of it is just like, I no longer have any validation for
Yeah.
the coffee. And but then the other question is this: if, say, you're a bartender, I haven't been a bartender yet. I imagine that's part of a job I'll one
I
day
like that
do.
you said yet.
I
That's
mean,
awesome.
you
Absolutely. No,
gotta try
absolutely.
everything
Dude,
once.
absolutely.
But my question to the bartenders and the baristas is: say you taste a drink, like, how often is it like not perfect and you send it anyways because you're busy, and the thought of remaking that drink just feels like a lot? And how often do you, taste it, it's not what you wanted, and make another one? Because that's the other question, is if every barista did taste the pour overs, how, how tedious do they need to be with, like,
Yeah.
the perfection of a pour over before sending it?
Okay, so my hot take. This is I kind of genuinely feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm in support of like automated craft.
Exactly.
Because
This is why batch brewing
like this is why
feels safe.
because like I don't think that it undermines the skill or the expertise of a barista. I think that they should taste, they should know.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm an experienced cupper. I've been tasting coffees for 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I come in with a bad mood, if it's cloudy in the P&W, if I stub my toe on the way in, and you set me on a cupping table, I'm going to perceive a coffee a certain way. And how can we expect, if I'm a seasoned taster, you're anyone who's seasoned in something, like, the reality is baristas have 1 to 2 to 3. If you get a 5-year barista, you're like, wow, this is really seasoned person.
No, that's great.
So how can you would want to train it and want it to be
train it,
like, no, the person, you'd want to train the skill. Jesus Christ. This just in.
I'm just gonna cut paste just that quote. Yeah, if you get a 5-year barista, you want to train it to really.
Jesus. What I was trying to say is, like, you want to train the skill, of course, always growing the sensory ability to like taste and know quality.
Yeah, of course,
But at the end of the day, like, this is a science. There is measurable ways.
It's true.
And so I think that's part of me why I like espresso better. I think that espresso is a more controlled environment
to mess it up.
I think so.
I mean, you'd hope so. It's a $30,000
coffee
maker.
But you just think about like the actual procedure and just like the intervention of human is like, okay, if you have a puck press, if you have a grind by weight, you have a specialty coffee.
Specialty coffee.
You have it dosed out. You have it puck pressed.
Yep.
You have it volumetric or gravimetric,
variables,
timed, weighed, and you have your temperature and you have your pressure controlled.
And now the espresso, you setting it up volumetric, you said?
Okay. Yeah, something where like it's at least repeatable.
Consistent.
It's consistent. Okay, I would even say like in a manual pour over, even a pour steady or something automated. Like the room temperature always affects everything, but like even in a pour steady, my assumption is like cold air affecting the metal of a pour steady, like that water, like the craft, like
there's a lot of
variables. But let alone a manual pour over of like your pressure, your flow rate.
Literally impossible to do the same thing twice.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I think it's impossible in every brew, but I think in an espresso scenario, I think it's more like bit by bit, it's more repeatable and more controlled. And so I think in that regard, like automation is the future, and it doesn't take away from craft because it like you can both have the craft and intention and specialty and the expertise and skill of the person handling it, but like automation should be the thing that enhances the professional's ability. I know there's a flip side to all of that. But like at the end of the day, like they're removing it, the way I see it, at least, like removing the ego from the professional. And like, okay, let me switch the scenario. You're building a house. You want to find the best carpenter. Do you want your carpenter using old manual hammers for your roofing?
Sure.
You want him to nail in every nail? No. That guy's got
unless he's like a champion.
No, but even then, he's more expensive than I know you could get the job done. And like, dude, pressurizing it, like boom, 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 nail done. Like,
sure.
I know that even inside of automation, there's a spectrum of quality, but like, we don't want to. I don't want to avoid automation, knowing that.
Okay, but let me ask you another angle.
Yeah.
Is there a level though of the human touch that carries a value that transcends the quality competition. Like, let me give you another would you rather.
Okay.
So the cup of coffee we talked about earlier, say that pour over, that's $10, is being brewed. You order it, and then you come sit at the pour over bar. And there's a bar with a designated person that knows these coffees. Is going to talk to you about these coffees. Is going to have fun answering questions. Is brewing the coffee in front of you, letting you smell the grinds, letting you smell the wet, letting you smell the finished pour over, giving you a cute cup, a nice cup. Talks about the. It's a whole experience. You're sitting with other people that are also having pour overs, and then you continue conversation with them about whatever. Okay, $10 to sit at that chair.
Okay.
Versus $5 house blend.
Okay.
Does it change? Does your answer?
I think that's the. So there's nuance. Obviously, there's nuance to all that question. Like, it depends on what you want out of that experience.
Yeah.
But I guess let me go back to that question.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, we're in 2025.
Uh-huh.
So if the narrative around automation, technological advance, and service is contention, as it should be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in the 1800s, tell me about how they got coffee from farm to roaster to cup.
Yeah.
The way that we do logistics, the way that we supply chain map, like the human touch is gone. The humans aren't managing supply. They aren't managing logistics. Like, what's familiar to you in the 1800s of a supply chain versus 2025 is different. So I think like you can easily nitpick in a good way, as we should, like what we would hope out of the human touch component to it all.
Yeah, sure.
And it is based upon what the consumer wants as an experience. But like the thing that I don't think is replaceable yet is the smile, is the eye contact, is the connection. So like I'm not voting automation to remove that. I'm voting automation to like
make more time
that up.
Okay, so then would you so imagine this. You order the $10 coffee. You go around and sit at the pour over bar. At the pour over bar, the barista's got 3 or 4 automated pour over machines that are brewing your coffee. While that's going on, they're still letting you smell the grind, smell this, and they're talking to you about the coffee, and they don't have to also be focused on the numbers. Is this all of that? The craft is more hospitality focused. Can I grab you a water? Can I do this and talk about? And you're saying that is what the future pour over bar.
I think so.
Should feel like.
I think that's what it should be about.
So we're using AI to enhance the quality of the conversation between humans.
I think so.
But here's the thing. Here's what's funny to me. Being someone that's been to a lot of cafes, seen a lot of different type of pour over, there's this thing where someone could order a really nice coffee, and if a human's not doing it, they immediately are like, that's not a pour over. Like, I don't, like, why would you sell that to me for more money?
Yeah.
Even though they might have a pour over machine that's brewing a better cup of coffee, this visual, it's almost similar with like matcha, like if you've got a bottle of pre-made matcha that's more consistently flavored, perfect temperature of water making it, and you're doing it dosed out with scales, that's going to be better. But if someone comes in and you're whisking it traditionally, there's these things that feel like I'm willing to spend more money on that because we grow up in a culture where like labor equals me being okay with more money instead of like quality of something. And so how do we balance out this optic of entertainment where there's this theater aspect, where I'm making a pour over, it's a beautiful kettle, the scales, everything's beautiful, and we're talking coffee versus here's my automated pour over machine. Let me stand here and just like talk to you about coffee and So how do we bridge that gap?
So like the thing about automation is like I feel like there's a perception that automation implies industrial. Like automation can't be beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, okay, again, back out the scope and you can ask how we've advanced technology. Like La Marzocco equipment is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Look at how espresso was made 100 years, whatever, 50, 100, whatever start point you want.
Yeah.
But you look at the way that automative technology, volumetric, gravimetric, whatever it might be, gorgeous equipment. So like aesthetic is not mutually
Yeah,
exclusive of automation.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
that like it's again, I understand that there's going to be a strong constituents
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
people who see automation as I can work less hard, I can make something. It basically
Sure.
will
Yeah.
overcompensate for something I
Uh-huh.
don't want to do. But
Mm-hmm.
like I think that the future of automation is that it is the tool to like
Yeah.
free up to make it even more hospitable. I mean,
Mm.
not that baristas should be therapists or
For
psychologists to their
sure. For
customers,
sure. Yeah.
but like in hospitality, there's an
Mm-hmm.
aspect of emotional give
Yeah.
to your customers. And again, it's like, can you create
Mm.
entertainment and experiences? And if that
Yeah.
person in the scenario, super valid scenario, comes in and sees a mechanic, unesthetic pour over arm and a barista behind the bar typing on their cell phone,
Yeah.
and then they look up and they see the timers and they go, "Here you go, have a good
Yeah.
day."
Yep. 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 Yep.
Of course,
Uh-huh.
that's not
Uh-huh.
hospitality, but that never would have been hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been hospitality just
Mm-hmm.
because they're doing
Yeah.
it with their arm.
Sure. Sure.
That person would have been texting on the
Yeah. Yeah.
side
Sure.
and still said, "Here you go, no eye
So,
contact."
okay. So, how do we bring in technology and still make sure that we maintain hospitality? Because I think it's easy to bring in the things that help, and then slowly not have hospitality
Yeah.
because the job's getting done.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting their good coffee, and it's
Yeah.
it's grab and go hospitality. And are we okay with that? Are we okay with like the barista's job is to make good coffee? They'll say hi to you and they'll give you a coffee, and like if you want more than that, like go to a therapist.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
like, are we, or is there a level where it's like, hey, are there little things that we do want to maintain on the hospitality side
Yeah.
while we are advancing the quality with technology that is less demanding for you to be making everything by hand, but
Yeah.
instead you're managing like, like how much you're
Yeah.
managing the profiles on the machines, where, how do we do that?
I mean, I guess like the problem of the premise is this like unspoken assumption that we're
Mm-hmm.
already doing good hospitality.
Hmm.
I would say the battle's not any different. Like
Hmm.
it's not like all we've
Mm-hmm.
been doing good hospitality
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
automation is jeopardizing that. It's like
Okay.
hospitality
Gotcha. So it's either there or it's
always has
not.
been a work in
And yeah,
progress,
okay.
no matter what the technology. So like
Yeah.
the same
Okay.
trope of a person that is hospitable 50 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
that same demeanor
Yeah.
would be true with automated espresso,
Gotcha.
manuals. Like
So the tools are different.
it's
The
the same
culture
ball
is
game.
what.
Nothing's changed.
Okay.
We think that it's changed
Yeah.
just because it looks different than it did
Okay.
faster. But I guess my belief is like
Yeah.
we're not actually in a different landscape.
Okay.
Hospitality's always been
Okay.
necessary.
So
We've always needed to prove.
a more loaded question then. Then who builds that standard, that culture
Yeah.
in a cafe?
Dude, I mean that to me is like it's the amorphous question, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
is defining hospitality and
Sure,
its
sure,
the
sure.
cultural relevance.
But how do you take a
and
cafe that maybe already sort of has this reputation for like hospitality is not great, baristas are kind of rude, blah blah blah, and how do you turn that into a space where people feel like they go in and leave and feel like, man, that was great. Like everyone loved coffee and life,
yeah,
and and or are we at a point in service industry where it's just like everyone's burnt out, everyone's stressed, and it's almost impossible to ask a
yeah,
service industry person to be this positive light in people's day to day,
yeah. I mean, in some regards, like it's like either you not in a black and white fashion, but I was
Sure.
gonna say either you got it or you don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's nuance, right? Like there's
Yeah.
some days you do, some days you don't. Some environments are easier,
Yeah.
some are harder, some days
Yeah.
are harder. But in
Yeah.
some regard, like you are on a path of
Mm-hmm.
hospitality, and the extent and definition
Yeah.
is on a spectrum.
Sure.
But I don't think the struggle has changed. I don't think
Yeah.
hospitality has become any harder to
Yeah.
give.
Yeah. Yeah.
If anything, it's gotten easier to give,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
certainly at least stayed the same. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can address the social issues of much more palatable political racism, misogyny, like
Mm-hmm.
those things that
Yeah.
have timelessly stayed with culture. Um,
Yeah. They remain.
they have been and they have been and they are, and so it's like
Just the way it looks changes.
The way that it's like I don't
Yeah.
think that it's gotten.
Hmm.
I'm not standing strong on that, but I guess my inclination is like
Hmm.
I don't think it's gotten harder to be hospitable. It
Yeah.
just changes what that looks like. But I'd say
Hmm.
there are businesses or people who have a predisposition or a demeanor where
Yeah.
they pursue uh, hospitality.
Yeah.
And then there
Yeah.
are going to be businesses and people who that's not what they care about.
Sure.
And if it's not successful for their community,
Hmm.
without even saying good or bad,
Yeah.
like what will come, what will come. But I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
it's important to remove like automation as the threat to hospitality.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hospitality's always been under threat.
Yeah.
It's only gotten easier. And
Hmm.
so it's just a matter of adapting and understanding how to leverage modern tools to
Okay.
either be who you have been
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
an hospital or make yourself more.
Yeah.
Or stay the same, I guess, in that regard. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I just don't think
And
it's a threat.
I mean, I think the beautiful thing about coffee shops, at least Make Worth, and is there's multiple positions on the floor that are different levels of like how social do you feel today?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
so some baristas show up and they're feeling great and they're like,
Mhm.
dude, put me on register. I'm ready to have genuine
Yeah.
connection, talk to people,
Right.
answer questions, handle difficult people, whatever. And then there's days where that same person might be like, yo, I need to be steaming milk or
Yep.
I need to be doing dishes today.
Yep.
And so having that flexibility, I think, is super helpful.
But in that regard,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm on my podium about it, but I think that's where automation is
can help.
beautiful,
Yeah.
is because
Uh-huh.
the more myself is like this amorphous, am I social, am I not? Do I like
Yeah.
customer service? Do I not?
Yeah. Yep.
I love people, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
totally to that point, you're on bar and some days you're like, man, I just don't want to talk to people.
Yeah.
But like in this world where tools are available,
Uh-huh.
in theory, can we build tools that help the introverted baristas who
Yeah.
have a genuine care for people
Yeah.
still have a form of
Totally.
success that meets the standard of hospitality?
Yeah.
And honestly,
Yeah.
not more importantly, but equally, your extroverted baristas who might need a little bit of like, hey, dude, or person, focus. Like that's the dial. Like that's a great conversation.
Yeah, it's
like,
great, but having a 30-minute conversation with a regular
we got to get you back
might not be
steaming
the
milk.
spot to do it. You might have to wait till lunch break. You're off. Yeah,
I guess it's just like, of course, there's always risk to like change.
Sure,
but I think no matter what the personality is, assuming that a barista has a genuine care to do a good job, like I guess I'd want to choose to see automation as like a way to make it better.
For sure. Okay.
Well, humans need humans.
Well, then, my last question for you. This is shout out time. Give me a cafe in the last, doesn't matter, 20 years that you went to and you walked out thinking this was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Whether it's hospitality, quality, mixture, whatever. Just a cafe that is a memorable, maybe even part of the reason why you wanted to get into coffee industry.
Ooh.
So maybe it's before you're in the industry. Maybe it's after, but like shout out time.
That's good. Okay, so the number one shout out is to Neat Coffee in Costa Mesa, California.
Okay, yeah.
That was our home cafe.
Okay.
We felt like it was just a living room.
Nice.
And the team that's there, the person who owns it, the manager, like the coffees, like everything was just lovely. And we could go in and baseline, the baristas recognize you. They have that really cool feeling.
Yeah.
Every time you ordered anything on the menu, whether it's food or drink, you were like, I can't wait to go back for the burrito.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, that's a cool feeling when like, you know, the coffee's good, but like you want your food menu to be good. The comfort, it's like a warm, but still like well-designed space.
Yeah. Okay.
It just the way that it gathers, I think is exceptional. I think though, so Neat Coffee. And then we actually went to Ozone Coffee in New Zealand when we visited there.
Okay, Ozone.
Ozone has this like beautiful, big, industrial, reclaimed, it looked like a former warehouse.
Okay.
But it's their roasting space all the way in the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they have seating all around like the side of the, like all around the perimeter of the building room. In the middle is like chefs. You know chefs when they're wearing like their clogs and they have the striped pin. Like I'm talking chefs.
Yeah.
And then on the side they have their like the baristas are working with the coffee.
Okay.
And maybe just because we were in New Zealand and like,
yeah,
it
you're
just
already
feels good.
romanticized.
It feels good, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
But
yeah.
we went in, and what I thought was so exceptional was nothing exceptional happened. No one came and kissed the ground. It was just like we walked in.
Another day for them,
and we got treated exactly lovely. And the food was unbelievable. Eggs Benedict, the espresso. We ordered like a cortado or something.
Yeah.
Lovely, expressive, super tasty. The aesthetic, we could see the roasting team doing their stuff in the back. It was a bustling time. We went like on a weekend, Saturday, late morning or whatever. Yeah. And I think what made that so exceptional was like, again, like we caught them just when they were just doing their thing.
Yeah.
And it was a memory for our lifetime. Maybe because of travel, maybe because of we were just really hungry. But I'll never forget that cafe experience where it's just like they had everything.
Yeah, just exceeded your
expectations. Just feel like you're in a watering hole. Like the animalistic side of us that like we just want to go where all the people are and feel safe and comforted and people watch. And I'll never forget that because like nothing great happened, and that's what made it so exceptional.
Yeah,
everything was just excellent.
Yeah, every part.
Yeah,
which that's super hard to do.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I want to go there now,
dude. New Zealand.
So what are we drinking? What are we drinking today?
This is the Brazil. It's the Flavio Reyes. It comes from the good folk at Bodhi Leaf Importers down in Anaheim, California. It's a 48-hour ferment. It's kind of a medium-low elevation, but it's very, very expressive. And that 48-hour fermentation is that period where you start getting the complexity, the winey, the strawberry. But then what we call vanilla is like there's like a sweet, gentle softness intertwined to like winey, which is like, a little bit more potent, a little more intense red fruit thing going on. Like this coffee was really, really exceptional. Natural process, 48-hour ferment, really nicely done. High complexity. It does really well in espresso. It's great on pour over. It's kind of one of those coffees where coffees that are processed forward aren't always like as versatile, even though we roast them to be as versatile as possible.
Sure.
And I really like this coffee on espresso because, like we talked about, you get a $10 espresso any day of the week. But the Brazil Flavio Reyes.
It is funny because
makes no sense.
It's clearly not, a quantity topic. Like you're getting 2 ounces.
Big guy, little shot.
It's a very different world now.
It
used to be like $5 for 16 ounces is always going to be better than $5 for 2 ounces.
Yep.
But it's anyways, continue.
So lovely Flavio Reyes.